Like there is never a time in any field or any industry where the function doesn't or shouldn't change for the better. So the world of the rubber stamp on the paper, the word police, as I hear people negatively call HR, that's gone. That's been gone for years.
Don't conduct your analysis in isolation because data is so incredibly powerful.
Not defending just the tribe, but defending the organization.
Those creative people that you really want to keep empowered, keep excited, keep motivated, keep thinking.
A good experience pays dividends down the line.
Stereotypes tend to break down in proximity.
Welcome to We're Only Human, a podcast about human resources, business, technology, and the workplace. My name is Ben Eubanks, your host, and I'm so glad you're here.
Hey everyone, welcome to We're Only Human. I am really glad that you're here today, and I get to share with you not just one, but two guests that you're going to learn from today. Recently, I met with Sandra Laughlin and Lane McFarland, and Lane was actually with us in episode 216. If you're like, that name sounds familiar, yes, he was recently here. Quickest turnaround on a podcast guest ever, but it's because we recorded this session for a live stream that our team was hosting around AI. So if you heard my keynote a few episodes back, that was part of this bigger event. And I'm sharing this one because Lane and Sandra just have such a great set of insights, and I love how they play off of each other. We talk about how AI can benefit us individually in our roles. We talk about how it will benefit our teams and our function overall, and then how it will benefit the business at a higher level. So I love this laddering up as we explore the opportunities to leverage AI in very practical sorts of ways. Again, these two people I highly respect separately. Having them together was like a collision of awesomeness. And so let's jump in with Lane and Sandra and learn from them about how we can use AI to do better work. Hey everyone, I hope you've enjoyed the conversations today at the event. Really picked up some good ideas for AI, what it means for you, what it means for our future as a profession, and some of the opportunities we have to use it responsibly, carefully, but also intelligently to make our work better, to make it more meaningful. And I'm excited to wrap us up today with this incredible panel, two people I highly respect. I have Lane McFarland here with me as well as Sandra Laughlin. We're going to be diving into some questions I have for them specifically. I handpicked these panelists because I appreciate their perspectives on this and would love to hear from them about some of the ways that we can be thinking about the value that AI presents to us and the opportunities there, not just for us individually or for us as a function, but for the business as well. So excited both of you are here. We're going to dive into some good stuff. Before we jump into that, Sandra, we'll start with you. A quick intro, who you are and what you do for the audience, please.
Great to be here, and thanks so much for having me, Ben, and fun to be with you, Lane, as well. Sandra Laughlin, I am the Chief Learning Scientist at a company called EPAM Systems. We are a large, like 60,000 person professional services organization that builds high-end software, digital, and data products. And I think I'm a lot less interesting than the company because what's very interesting about us is that we've been leveraging AI and HR for literal decades. And so we have lots of different use cases, lots of perspective to share. And I'm excited to talk about that with you guys today.
Tremendous. Lane, what's your story?
So happy to be here. Thanks for inviting me, Ben. Nice to talk to you, Sandra. I am Lane McFarland. I'm the Vice President of People Operations at Flashpoint, which is a global threat data and intelligence company. I lead the end-to-end HR function for around 350 team members across 8 countries. So over the last 15 plus years, I've been transforming complex organizations. I had a strong focus on innovation, digital operations, and then over the last 3 to 4 years around automation and AI transformation.
And most importantly, tell the audience about your shirt.
So my children dress me every day. So this is one of many in my repertoire of fun shirts. I think last time I did one of these talks, I was wearing bacon and eggs, or maybe it was a hot dog shirt, but
Okay, so it's the Dino Chicken Nuggets for anyone that's like trying to figure out and pick out exactly what's on that. So my kids are not purveyors of, they're consumers of Dino Chicken Nuggets. And so I immediately recognize that. So any parent probably would too. So excited that you're both here. Looking forward to getting into this. And you both have some good things to share. I already know it. So Lane, I'm going to start with you on this one. I'm always reading the headlines, trying to see what's out there happening. And there was an AI related headline that said the end of HR as we know it. That was the actual title on that. I'd love to hear from you. What's your reaction to a title like that when it comes to the work we do every day?
good. Honestly, everything changing. Like there is never a time in any field or any industry where the function doesn't or shouldn't change for the better. So the world of the rubber stamp on the paper, the word police, as I hear people negatively call HR, that's gone. That's been gone for years. 20 years ago, Google came out and said it's now people ops. And okay, fast forward 10 years, now it's people experience and now it's people. So the HR function is always changing. So if AI is a tool for us to elevate our skills and how we show up for a business, why not make the change?
Sandra, any thoughts?
Okay, and I'm going to say, as a company that has AI everywhere and all the things that we do, we still have HR, and HR is not the same as it is in other organizations. We are structured differently, we are staffed in some ways differently, our processes are different, we think differently about our work. So I think Lane is right. Like, I think there is a new evolution. It's an evolution. It's not like it's a complete, like, it's an evolving space, but the idea that AI would come in and change everything and not change HR is, I think, very naive. And I think there's evidence to show that there's a lot of benefit to the HR function and to the business when we change how we work.
I appreciate that. Whether we call it something different, Lane, or Sandra, if we just change what we're doing, we're going to have to evolve with it. That's one of the things I called out earlier is change is going to happen to us, or change is going to happen because we are happening with it. Like we are going along with it. We are leading it. We are thinking about and contributing to it, or it's just going to happen to us. And you're always going to feel like you're in the passenger seat with no control, no say so, no authority at all, which is tough, a tough place to be. So if that's the case, I'm on board with that. I love us already. Shots fired. Let's go. Sandra, let's continue that thread you started pulling on there. So everyone talks about AI. But it's AI everything, like agents everything. It's all so vague and so broad that some people are talking about using an LLM for certain things. They're saying AI like it's one thing we can always point at and say, hey, there it is. And it's not. So let's get to some specifics if you don't mind. You pointed out, hey, EPAM's been doing some really creative stuff. I've seen some of the skills things that y'all are doing. It's mind blowing. So talk about the value for the average person out there listening who's working in learning and talent or in HR. What are the specifics, the value, the opportunity that AI presents?
So there are a number of them. And I like to think about it as, I guess, like threefold. So one is within the HR function is actually improving the work that any individual is doing. And by improving, I mean changing. It's not necessarily better, it's just different. Where instead of doing a lot of the activities that we're doing today, we ourselves are going to be working alongside HR, AI agents who are expert at doing very specific tasks. And we're going to be reviewing their work, giving them feedback, adjusting, making changes based on it. And so our work will change to be us involved in processes that are more than just us. Second, we're going, and those are going to be like business tools for our own organization. Second, we're going to be working with AI-enabled HR tech, where there are agents built into those specific workflows or automations or whatever it is. And we're going to be engaging with it, and it's going to make our interactions with the technology a lot simpler. And then the third thing, and this is the most interesting thing for me, is that the real exciting thing about AI from an HR perspective is not what it does within the different silos of HR, but what it does across the entire talent lifecycle. And so what AI is going to enable us to do is actually to see end to end the employee journey, to actually leverage insights gained in the hiring process, in learning, or in talent performance management. It creates an entire infrastructure to help us support employees across their journey and not just focus so narrowly on our very specific step in that process.
So Lane, we heard from Sandra this range of different things. I love the not just in the silos, but in the life cycle of talent and all those pieces there. What are your thoughts on some of the value that AI offers? Again, the average person out there. Some people are farther ahead, some people are farther behind, but anyone out there that's listening right now that's trying to do this work, what should they be looking for in terms of value?
You're right. It depends on their learning curve that they're approaching. It depends on what their organizations are open to. You hear about AI nativity, you hear about AI and industry agnosticism when it comes to the HR field. And I think leveraging it to where you're at, both in your learning journey and what your company needs. LLMs right now are what we see. If you ask any like true techie, like AI, and they're like, it's not really AI. It's not AI, guys. So it's very interesting having these conversations with people that expect this automated intelligence. In reality, it's just an additional resource for us to offset. So if it's somebody that's just getting started in their journey, it's a great opportunity to utilize for research purposes. There's so many tools out there where you can pull at the thread. If I think back to 15 years ago, writing a policy would take me an hour of research, 1 hour of writing, and then an hour of review from a peer that knew more than I did to make sure everything was correct. And then I go back on third or fourth drafts. Now it takes me 10 minutes of research and understanding, maybe 13 seconds of actually writing it, and then the review process is actually more involved than it used to be. So the creative aspect of what people can utilize it for is very high. If you are already into your learning journey, LLMs are second nature to you. You have your prompt engineering down, you have a system, you have customization going on. Then you start looking at the nativity that Sandra was saying. The AI native tools inside our tool sets now are elevating HR as our capability. So the amount of time it took you to use Excel or use Sheets to manipulate data sets, do pivot tables, do V or X lookups, move the data where you need it to go, to put together a chart that is customized to match all of the different marketing styles and structures and colors that you need to have to present to a board would take hours, or a team to do all this manipulation. Now you have a resource that can help do that within a tool. It can pull the data that you're asking for, give you that data for you to make informed decisions. And then all of the automation, the integration between tool sets is not only happening now, but it's so important going forward as companies start looking at, again, at HR as like a cost center rather than a strategic advantage. I've heard bubblings everywhere about how the CHRO is now elevated as the CEO's number one resource, their right-hand person, because of the empathy, the change management, their experience, understanding all the parts and pieces. I 100% agree with that. At the same time, you have viral videos going off about how AI is going to offset the need for HR. And I think that if you think about it from both perspectives, you're elevating the function with your strategic advantage while automating the mundane, the monotonous tasks, the integrations between tool sets that can then manipulate the data fields without you having to have direct involvement, aside from that human intervention when needed.
I feel like you threw in VLOOKUP and XLOOKUP just to show some nerd street cred there. Like it
Super
wasn't
nerd.
like
Yep.
both. I see some organizations that are larger that have started to split out, similar to what you both used to earlier, where we have the very compliance focus, just are we checking the boxes? That level of thing is almost like the compliance department. And then the HR or the people side is more of the strategy, more of the talent side, more of the development skills, the bigger picture. How do we align to the business and make things move forward as an organization? And that sort of split to me is what you're talking about there, where there's those things that we take for granted, like that should be handled and it doesn't change and it's the same at every company. Sure, automate the heck out of those things because it doesn't add value to have a human. The marginal value of having Lane touch that or Sandra touch that is not there. But to have Lane or Sandra in that meeting, coaching that leader on that skill they have to build because their team needs them to show up and be present to lead well, that human connection, that human value of that interaction is high. And so right now we may be sacrificing that second one because we're spending time on the first one. And the more we can get that off our plate and spend time there, I get encouraged by those opportunities that presents essentially. Okay. We talked about this for the individuals here. Let's talk about it. Sandra, I'll come back to you. Let's go a level higher. Okay. We're going to keep climbing this ladder. So we talked about individuals. Let's go to the level of your team, your departments, right? For the learning, the talent, the HR team at EPAM or to other organizations. Where does that value come from? What does that look like? Is it different than what it is for an individual, or is it just an expanded version of it?
I think it's very different. And I think that kind of goes to Lane's point around HR becoming actually like one of the most critical functions as opposed to a kind of back office like cost center. And this is a fundamental change. And I think it's being wrought because of the fact that skill AI is coming in and hitting all of us at the same time. You think about like our workforce strategies, they were largely like hiring strategies because if you were missing some skills, you either go hire for those or you get some like outsourced vendor and you're good. But now those talent pools don't exist. And so we are now forced to understand our workforce and actually invest in it to upskill, to change roles, evolve. And because the workforce is going to become humans plus AI, it requires a completely different level of understanding of our workforce and a strategic approach to it. And so this is what I find most exciting about this movement in AI from an HR perspective. It's that finally HR has no choice but to step up and actually be a true partner to the business. And I say that this is an HR choice, and it's not entirely true, but it's, I think, a big chunk of it is, because we have so long talked about our function not using business language and not actually framing it from business value and strategy realization. And I think we no longer have the option to continue down that path. Like, we are going to have to get much smarter about our own businesses so that we can truly be that right hand that the CEO needs.
No. Engagement's the answer to everything, Sandra. What do you mean? I feel like everything, I'll give a great answer and then I have a comedic relief. I should need to stop doing that. So I love that. I completely agree. Our function has to rise up, has to be not just a cost center, be a driver of impact, a driver of value, create new things that weren't there before, create new value, not just hiring, but guess what? Now that we're using these tools, we can see across the workforce in a way we couldn't before. And we know that we were about to step right over this person who's perfectly qualified and interested in it. They got their hand raised virtually to do this. And we were going to step over them to hire someone we didn't know because we didn't have the visibility. So that's powerful. Lane, what else would you contribute there or add in or just double down on what Sandra shared around the value for the function or the department of people, HR, whatever we're going to call them today?
I would say one of the things I'm seeing more and more common, especially like job descriptions you see everywhere, is 5 years ago you saw the blending of the human resources, talent management, talent acquisition, all those skill sets that were very personal, very human based, very empathy driven, very connectivity and relationship driven. And then you saw it starting to transform into needing change management, project management, operational management, and understanding all the parts and pieces. And then you saw the transformation getting into more an understanding about economics and finance and financial reporting because you were seeing the growth of where the function needed to transform to grow and help the business. And now what we're seeing is technology. So you're seeing the need of a change management professional with talent management expertise, with recruiting experience, and then also being able to have financial acumen and business acumen. Now they need to understand technology, innovation, integration, and be able to speak that language, regardless of the industry. This is popping up everywhere. And I've seen like what's the top skill for CHROs right now? And it's tech transformation. You're like, that's been happening for years. Why is this such a big skill? It's because companies are seeing that no longer is HR a check the box. Here's the compliance team that files all the paperwork that they're supposed to do, make sure people get paid and their benefits are aligned. That's still there. But now you have and that's how do we better develop our function to elevate the success measures of the entire company? Because I think it was 10 years ago or so, there's a big L&D speaker. I wish I could remember his name. They said, how do you showcase the value of L&D in your business? And he said, the only way that I've ever seen a way to showcase value is by tying it to business metrics. How is sales enablement working? What are the closed deal ones? What are the gaps? What are the closed deal losses? Where does the qualified leads and where do they fail on the pipeline? And how is sales enablement within L&D helping drive that success in a business metric? And now we're communicating business metrics, financial metrics from an HR perspective, and then also time saved, productivity changes. How is AI being integrated or native integrations elevating not only how you show up for your teams, but how you work, how fast you work, your data integrity and consistency, all from a technological standpoint.
Mm. Sandra, you're over there like doing the head bob thing. Is he sharing some of that? Did anything, something occur to you or something in there that you're like, yes, and
Yes, I would say technology, and this is my big one, data.
mm,
I think because AI really is just a use case for data. And what HR has, business broadly, but including HR, has done less well than we should have in the past is collected and leveraged and gotten all of our data in a meaningful space that made sense and was validated. I think one of the I see as most critical for people leaders is actually understanding the relationship between data and AI and technology and people, because all of those things are now going to need to be where we get comfortable and smart, because so much of it is going to be us needing to understand and make sense of data, interpret that data, leverage data to show impact, leverage data to identify challenge areas. Like, we're going to have to get really good at that, understanding that technology and AI in particular is only as good as the data that we feed to it. And that's some really big gaps in the HR space.
I did not know you were going to say that, but one of the notes I made right before I asked you that question, just because I saw you were like chomping at the bit to respond, was I wrote tech transformation. We mistakenly assume that technology transformation or even a big data transformation is purely data or purely technology. And almost always there's a people element to change management, to getting them on board, to selling the idea, to following through. Anybody can say, oh, yeah, we should be a skills based organization. Oh, yeah, we got work to do. Let's put that on the back burner. And so following through, making things happen, actually executing is one of the key things that we're going to have to continue doing. I don't know if you ever do this if when you're using ChatGPT or something else where it's, oh yeah, we can go down these like 10 different rabbit holes. I just need this one thing done and then stop. Don't lead me down this path. I just need to quit after I've done this task and finish. Don't give me three more things to do. Like this is the end of it. And it doesn't have that wherewithal, that understanding, that awareness, that context that humans do to say, this is the outcome we're looking for, and we need to move on from there. So we've started building this ladder. We've talked about the individual level. We talked about the team level. Let's talk about the organizational level, because the interesting, challenging, and opportunistic part of this is we're talking about AI changing things. It's not just going to change like the workflows and things like that. It's going to change some of the jobs that are available. It's going to change, and HR has some responsibility because that's a people thing too. So it's not just changing the stuff we're touching, we're doing, but also the people, and we're going to be thinking about those pieces. So Lane, I'm going to start with you on this one, if you don't mind. Talk about AI and what it means, what the value is, the benefit to the workforce, to the business, that side of this equation.
We are in a tough economic outlook. Regardless of your industry, you could be in a booming industry. I'm sure you're still having troubles where you look at whether it's people, whether it's investment, whether it's resourcing. And I think everyone is trying to find that panacea, that magic pill, because A plus B equals C is the easiest business equation there is. Business success is so easy. It's A plus B equals C. But then there's people, external, internal. So there's so much to it. It's like change management. It's project management plus people. So people are not something that is going away from an HR perspective, an organizational perspective. You need clients and you need employees. So I think from an organization's perspective, if you are utilizing AI in the best possible way, or if you are curious about the outcomes that you can utilize it to benefit you, one of the biggest ways I think is that curiosity. How can it benefit us? Are we using it with integrity? Are we using it intentionally? Are we curious about the opportunities that we're not even thinking about? In terms of a skill set, it's an easy outcome. If you are not sure where your growth journey should be for your next opportunity, you need to ask. You need to get some insight on it, and you can tell it when to stop. Here's where I want to go. Here's where I'm at. This is what I want to learn. What would you recommend for me? That is an easy development outcome that any company can utilize when they're upskilling their teams to take them to the next level. What I like in terms of like how it elevates the company is we need to start focusing on more intentionality with where we're going as a company. If one of the hardest things you're struggling with is resourcing, okay, how can I start using automation or integration between tools? It's not specifically AI, it's technology. How can I offset the amount of time my team is making HR admin updates in an HRIS and then going into the payroll system and making those same updates and then reporting it via Google or Teams to understand exactly who's owning what and where? Can I integrate? Can I automate? Can I make sure those feeds are accurate? Can I make sure there's data integrity? It's Sandra's recommendation. Data integrity is everything, and the data that you have can lead to a lot of positive outcomes for a business. And you hear this all the time. My conversation with my network, like we have a lot of data, we just don't know what to do with it. And my question always is, what do you want to do with it? What is it supposed to lead you to? Surveys is engagement is like the top thing you see everywhere. Every HR convention I go to, the 5 out of 8 meetings are all about engagement. And it's reminiscent of you can fix it with a pizza party. Like, that's not what people want. So it might be. But if you're looking at survey data, unless it's tied to business outcomes, it's useless data. If you're pulling all this information on where team members are struggling, the value they feel from the company to them, the value in which managers are holding to their team members, are they communicating? If they're not communicating, there's an issue right there. If the type of engagement activities are distracting from their work, you don't need more engagement. You need more intentional engagement that is clearly defined by your company culture. What will that yield? Are the teams struggling with skill development? Are they struggling with too much development? Are they required to do an hour of training every month and they can barely reach that? All right, now you have a productivity or a bandwidth issue or a resource. So all of the data that we're gathering can elevate a company at all levels, but we need to utilize that data intentionally to give us real business outcomes. And if we need to offset that time, we can ask AI natively or externally LLMs to start taking those big data sets and give us an understanding of what you're seeing. What are you not seeing? What is a critical gap that you've noticed in these 1,000 responses that is consistent? What are the themes? So it's an easy way that we used to have to actually read every single response, and you have the NA from multiple team members to the 6 paragraph essays they're writing and having to contextualize and make a little hash mark on a piece of paper. But now you have that being done at the speed of light that you can then pull that thread and start tying it to real outcomes.
Sandra, we could pick any number of things. I don't know about a pizza party, but a chicken dino nugget party would be the winner. Sandra, you heard some great things there from Lane around some of the opportunities for the business side and the workforce side. Anything to add there?
I think there are many opportunities. And I want to talk about the dark side of those opportunities, if you will. I think there's a lot of mixed messages and confusion in the space around like how AI is going to impact the workforce, right? There's a lot of people that say, oh, AI is just going to make your work better. And that is true, right? Over time, better, right? Over time. But I think the headlines are very clear about this, right? The knee-jerk reaction of many leaders is going to be looking for headcount reduction because AI can come in and take parts of several different jobs, and therefore you need few people around. Like there's no way that we're going to get around this. And I think one of the most essential roles for HR in this space is to be advocating for the people, but from a data-driven perspective, right? We need to be looking at, with our business, with our AI leaders, looking at where AI is likely to come in and do tasks that are done by people today. Like we need to get ahead of that because we need to help position the people that are doing those tasks right now with upskilling, with mobility opportunities, right? We need to be the ones talking to our executives and saying, okay, AI may be able to do a lot of our entry level roles. We still need entry level people because in 5 years, who's going to be like, we have to be the ones in the room from a understanding and in a business intelligent way, advocating for the business by advocating for people. And I think that this is why I'm so passionate about HR understanding data and tasks and AI and the business, because I don't see anyone else who's going to be the person in the ear of the executives who are seeing AI primarily as a headcount activity, as opposed to a business and evolution with people as a core part of that.
Yes. There, we already know, and there are several fields where you can see there are impacts to headcounts, but at the same time, there are also impacts to upside, new opportunities, new value we can create where we couldn't before. And that is what excites me. Lane talked about something that humans we used to do, but Lane, one of the things we found when we actually dug into this with an experiment, we found that the AI, like if I'm reading through that and my boss is the jerk, I'm reading those comments. Every time I see that, I'm like, yes, see, I knew it. And like I'm confirming some bias that I have because we're biased consuming those comments from that. AI doesn't have that sort of thing. So it's just looking through there. It can flag the things, but it can see them in a way that we humans just can't. So yes, as I said earlier, like doing things we were doing, but also some things in better ways than we could ever do them. Sandra, there's not a chance that any of us have the free time to go look at every skill our people have past the top 2 or 3 and figure out where they could be and the likelihood they'd fit into those positions, which don't have that ability to do that. So 2 data points I'll share with y'all from this, from 2 different pieces of research that I don't have the actual numbers on. So 2 directional things that tie in very well with what I heard from you both. It was so interesting to hear that. So number one, we did some research this year on becoming a data-driven HR function. What does it take to do that? And we actually asked a question in there. Are you more people focused? Let's hold hands and sing. Or are you more data focused? Numbers, data, evidence, or a combination of both? Which one's the best way to be? And we found that when a company picked one or the other instead of that all encompassing answer, their results were poor. Their leadership, they said their leadership didn't really get them. They felt like they were out of touch with things. They didn't tell stories well with their data. All those negative outcomes started coming out when they said we got to be one or the other. But the ones that said both had better outcomes overall. The other one I'll share is Sandra, you talked about like the skills piece a little bit and the direction we're giving to people. The thing that it's one of those things that makes you just scratch your head. We asked in a survey a couple of years ago now around how do your people know what skills are important to develop? And right now, I'd argue it matters more than it did 3 or 4 years ago. They need to know what's next because they're reading the same headlines we are. And the majority of companies said, we're expecting managers to be conveying those to their people. They should be sharing that stuff down and flowing it down. We then asked workers in that same study, how do you know what skills are important to develop? And the majority of them said, I've got to figure it out myself. A manager doesn't even tell me. And so companies are expecting it. The employees are hoping for it. And the managers are like, what do you mean skills? I just got to get these tasks done this week. And so there are opportunities for us to plug in there. And I love the way you talked about that, about having, we've got to be the voice in the room speaking to those things because who else is going to? Yes, sure, you can save somebody on headcount right now. Sure, you can. But have you thought about cost ABC, long-term challenge X, all these things that comes up as variables that we see because change management, superpower, that's what we do. Okay, so I've got one last question that I did not prepare either of you for, and good luck to you. Sandra, I'll start with you. What is something that you hope AI does away with? Something that's like you have to do or it's a part of work or something else you're like, just be done. No more of that. Thank goodness AI took care of it.
Oh, there's like a million things. I guess the thing that you know what? It's okay. I'm a learning person. And so I'm going to say stupid content creation. Like so much of what we have defined our function by is getting like experts to tell us stuff that we package up and then can we not do that? Can we instead actually focus on giving employees practice and feedback opportunities, right? Can we give them informal learning opportunities? Can we get past our function as content and really change how we think about our work to be enablement of new behaviors and learning? I'm like so excited about that.
Okay, I think you've got a whole bunch of people like Lane's over. Yes, please. If you got that right now, I'll just go ahead and buy that, Sandra. I'll just yes, let's get it. Lane, what would be your thing? You're like, just do away with it, no more.
Oh, that's such a tough one. There's so many things that I even think about in a day. It's along the same lines of what Sandra said. It's how I consume, both from a knowledge perspective and an employee facing perspective. A payroll review, I shouldn't have to go line by line. I should see the flags. And if AI can help me better understand contextually what I need to consume as the final approver, that's what I want to see. I don't want to have to wade through consuming all the data. If I need to understand a new benefits opportunity rollout, I don't want to read a 5 page case study. I want to see the top 20% that will give me 80% understanding. That way I can relay that effectively. If a team member is struggling with a question, I don't want to filter through all of the information. What they say, you don't go to a doctor and say, well, I was standing on this ottoman, and then it's not really an ottoman, it's a table, but then the table, and they go on. And what they want to know is, this hurts. How can I help you? And so, if there's a better way to help me filter through what we used to see as a function, is that true focus on the details, the data's in the details. Give me what I need so I can do my job faster and better to help show up for my team members in the way that they need.
I love it. I love that so much. Both of those were great examples that illustrate this. The best of us don't think about AI as a way to keep people at arm's length. It's not about substituting for that. It's about knowing them better so we can serve them better. Sandra, in terms of I can deliver content that's going to help you do more next year so you can earn more money because you're going to blow your career out of the water in the best way. And Lane, listen, I'm going to get you in here. I'm going to get you the help that you need so you can get back to work. We're all happy with that. And I can get back to work, which I'm doubly happy about. So those examples are so great. I love them so much. For the audience out there, if they want to connect with either of you, follow you after hearing your great thoughts today, Lane, what's the best way to do that?
LinkedIn, I never turn down a networking opportunity. I never turn down a connection request. And if anybody has questions, I'm always there to answer.
All right. Make sure you tell him that you loved his Dino Nugget shirt. He will accept within minutes. I'll go ahead and put him on the hook for that one. Sandra, LinkedIn the best way for you as well?
Same, yeah, LinkedIn. And I talk a lot about skills, about data, about AI and HR. So follow if you're interested in like all of my crazy thoughts.
Yes, go deep down that nerdy rabbit hole in the best way, in the best way. I love it so much. I appreciate each of you again for joining us today, for your passion for this, for helping us think about AI at these different levels and not just this generic thing, but something that everybody can walk away with an idea to talk to one of their leaders about, an idea for how they can be using this, an idea for how to improve their team around them and help them be more cohesive in their perspective. So I appreciate each of you. To all of you out there, I hope you enjoyed this. We're going to be wrapping up shortly. Stay tuned.
Thank you so much for joining me on the show today. I'm honored to have you as a listener. If you enjoyed this episode, please take 10 seconds to rate it at iTunes, Stitcher, or wherever you listen to your podcast. Also, if you know a friend that could benefit from today's conversation, please pass it their way. After all, a rising tide lifts all ships. To see show notes, sponsor information, and our full show archives, visit onlyhumanshow.com.